Just remember to talk up a little, just over the end, but the mic should check.
Okay. Hey, how you doing, everybody? We are live here at my coffee shop. I'm Kira Johnson with Survivor Radio Network, and we are here with
Mark James.
Mark James. How are you doing? What's been going on with you lately?
Hey, I'm just trying to keep the world safe.
Keep the world safe. I hear you have a new book out. Tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. My new book is called Inside the Bubble. It's lessons learned from a life in protective services and business.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to starting my protection agency, I spent 23 years in corporate America. Number of roles. Was blessed to work for such companies like Coca-Cola, Nike. And from there, I left those and I started my own performance agency, high performance consulting agency. And I consulted with Fortune 100 companies on how to make their brands more effective, how to drive effective revenues. So I had a number of people who would always call me up and ask me from time to time, hey, Mark, take a look at my resume. Would you give me some thoughts about, I want to open a business. Could you share some best practices? And so what I said was, let me kind of cut to the chase, take all those best practices I learned from my corporate days. And when I started my agency, since I protect high net worth individuals, I got to see what best of breed looks like from some of the best business people, best entertainers, but best business people. So I shared some of those best practices in the book.
Okay. So when you say protection agency, do you mean like security, or what do you mean by that?
When I say protection agency, this kind of goes back to branding. When you say security, people often think about uniforms.
Right.
They think about the wagon huts of the world, and that's not what I do. When I say I own a full service protection agency, I want you to think Secret Service.
Okay.
I want you to think bodyguards. I want you to think people who focus on risk mitigation versus risk management. All right? When you think about most people, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's security, they're typically very reactive. What we do is, as a protection agency, is focus on being proactive and how do we mitigate risk. So it's no different than when you sit down in business and you do a SWOT analysis. You look at your strengths, you look at your weaknesses, you look at your opportunities, you look at your threats. And based on that, you then put together a strategy to help offset those things to allow you to move your business forward. So once again, it's about risk mitigation so that you drive a more profitable and successful business. And so a lot of people like to think that their business is so different. Business is business. All the same fundamentals apply regardless of the type of business you have. It's just done across different vertical segments.
Right. Okay, so how did you get started into this type of business? This is something real unique. I've never heard of anything like this.
Well, once again, I spent a lot of time in corporate America. I started out teaching legislators and judges and business executives how to shoot for personal protection. And from that, it translated into it's campaign time. Mark, hey, you're good with a firearm, you're good with your hands, you're good with people. We're at a lot of the same events. You mind traveling with me because my family feels comfortable and they feel safe when you're around. And so since I'm an ex-corporate vice president of sales and marketing, I said all of those same things I did before, if I'm going to move into a protection agency, in my business career, in 23 years, I had 15 corporate moves. So I was kind of tired of moving. So I said, most long-term careers are built on personal strengths used by people who enjoy what they do. So I said, how could I take the skills that I've had, the competencies I've developed, and focus on what I enjoy doing? I enjoyed martial arts. I enjoyed firearms. I've always built high-performing teams. A protection agency is just a different high-performing team. So that's how I started opening up my agency. But then since I was known as the business person, I had to rebrand myself. So in the rebranding, I started writing books. So I wrote some books on firearms. I wrote books on self-defense. I started writing for different publications. And so once again, you have to create a point of differentiation. You have to showcase thought leadership. And so that way people start to see you as an expert in your new field, not the ones they're used to seeing you. So that's how I transitioned from corporate America into my own agency. And once again, in the book, I talk a lot about branding concepts. This is my book, Inside the Bubble. And I talk a lot about, like I said, keys to success in business, keys to rebranding yourself. And everything that I'm telling you about doing in this book, I had to do for myself. So how do I know it works? Because I had to do it for myself. And so there's a lot of people out, in this space, especially when you get into social media, who claim to be business gurus of this or gurus of that, have never run business units. They've never had to drive an organization. They've never bought a new product to marketplace. They've never had to restructure an organization. They've never had to look at a person in the face who's done nothing but an outstanding job and say, Kira, I don't have a job for you tomorrow. That's what real business people do. And so one of the inspirations for the book was when I started looking at all of the top performing organizations, and you can look at a multitude of business executives. And while they might have highly successful companies, sometimes they become victims of their own success. You see people who have strained family relationships, multiple divorces, kids don't associate with them because their mom and dad was never there because they were busy running the business, and they missed all those special moments in their lives. And so one of the key things as a leader, you can't call yourself a leader. You can't make your actions scale. So you have to be able to prepare your organization to perform in your absence. And so with all good leaders, first bring vision. From vision, you need inspiration, because inspiration allows your actions to scale, because now your team understands why we're doing it and they buy in. And then from there, you need execution. And the simpler you can make the execution, the more successful businesses are. That's why most businesses only steward a couple of things, whether it's 3 or 4 key business indicators, because most people can't multitask well. Despite people say they multitask, they can't. They can't do it well. So you put laser focus on the things that drive your business versus just a lot of activities. But what I found absent in most of those highly successful organizations people was rejuvenation. And you have to have balance in your business. You have to have balance in your life. And when you put balance in your business, you put balance in your life, that's how you have relationships with your family. That's how you don't leave all those body bags along the way. And that's one of the key things I saw missing. One of the things I wanted to talk about in the book was talking about the importance of having value-driven leadership. And when you say value-driven, it doesn't mean that you tolerate underperformance. It just says success doesn't have to be penalizing. And so how do you get success through vision and inspiration as opposed to intimidation? And so once again, I just want to bring in a different approach to adding value.
Okay, well, that's so cool. It sounds like you've turned your passion into your paycheck, which is awesome. I was just wondering, do you have any words of advice for other people trying to leave corporate America and go into the entrepreneurship field?
Absolutely. One of the key things I'll say is don't leave until you've really developed skills. A lot of people go into business because they want to be the boss. Go into business for yourself because you see a market need, something that you can do, something that you can add value to, because going to business because you want to be the boss won't work. You also need stamina. You need emotional stamina. You need physical stamina, because as you manage through this, the hours are going to be long initially. So once again, competency of trade is point of entry. That's what you got to have. Then you have to have stamina. You have to have money. You know, most businesses fail not because the owner isn't good at their trade craft. They're often not good at business, or they don't have enough working capital to allow themselves to market their business until it can grow and start paying those appropriate returns. The other thing is, I say that you have to learn to hire well. You have to hire people who have the competencies that complement or either bring value to the things that you don't do well. And for me, one of the things I look for, I like to hire winners. I like people who have won. I don't care what the winning comes from. I don't care if it comes from sports. I don't care if it comes from dog competitions. I don't care if it comes from basket weaving. But people who win, in order to perform at a high level, you typically have to have discipline. And if you have discipline, I can teach skills. I can't teach traits. So those are some of the things, you know, that I look for, and some of the keys that I think that every entrepreneur has to have. But whatever business you want to be in, you have to be in that business. And everything you do, from how you brand yourself to your operating platforms, to how you add value, to how you structure servicing your customer, must be focused on those things. Too many times you see people want to go into business and they want to be all things to everybody, and they do nothing well. And that's just a fast track to mediocrity. And mediocrity is to fast track to no profits. So just a couple of things to think about.
All right, well, I appreciate you talking to me, but let our listeners know where we can find your book at and where we can contact you at.
Sure, you can find my book on Amazon. So once again, go to Amazon.com, just type in Inside the Bubble, Mark James, and you can find it there. You can also find information about my agency at info@pantherprotectionservices.com.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you for talking to me for a few minutes. Again, we are live here at my coffee shop. It's SRN's Kira Johnson signing out with Mr. Mark James, Inside the Bubble. Check it out. up, you shaking. You nervous? I'm about to say your hand shaking. I'm about to say coffee would do it to you.
Let me see if I can get Carl to come over and take one picture before we go. You know what? XR, take a picture of my camera. She's busy